Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. So this video is to go alongside the blog that has been released around just how we can basically manage our stress better in what is quite frankly these kind of very volatile and uncertain times. So one thing that I talk about is that everybody experiences stress differently. So we're facing obviously a lot of uncertainty around things like COVID, but then if we're looking at kind of the larger innovation landscape as well, then there's also kind of a lot of stress and strain, a lot of change that could actually come up through different technologies that are being released that may also do things like maybe put jobs at risk. It may also create new opportunities for people. And I talk a little bit about this in the blog as to how people may see things differently. But like I mentioned at the start, one of the keys is that everybody experiences stress in a different way. And naturally, when they experience stress in a different way, they also kind of relieve themselves from stress in different ways as well. So what technique works for one person, so what works for me, may not actually work for you. But nonetheless, the whole purpose of these blogs is that, I do coaching at the moment. I'm also kind of working with a number of people throughout the company that I work for. And it's basically just helping people to find some of those tools and techniques to help them through some of the stresses that they face. So the idea of me presenting what works for me and what I've observed is that hopefully you can go and pick up some of these tools and techniques to help you through these things. So the first thing that I talk about is first you need to recognize what the onset of stress looks like. And I personally, so my onset, it's triggered by something that weird goes on with my right eye. It's like a little weird twitching, right? And that's the onset of, maybe I need to take a little bit of a break. Some of the other things may be where I'm not able to concentrate. I'm not able to fully focus. But, recognizing what some of those little bodily things are, what some of those kind of mental traits may be, as to when you're starting to become a little bit stressed, that's key. Because then you can begin to think, okay, so what type of stress is it that I'm dealing with? And then what is it that I need to do to go and remediate it? Do I need to go and exercise? Do I need to go and do some yoga? Do I need to just take some relaxation time, some breathers, whatever that may be? So that's then the next part. So it's recognizing the type, and then it's actually going on and actually doing something about it. So the next part of the blog is then when I kind of look at some of the things that I find that works for me, and that also I've heard that works with some of the coaches and mentees that I work with. So the first one is the relaxation techniques. So this is where you're just creating space for yourself. Space for yourself to just be, to put your feet up, to just distance yourself from whatever that experience may be that is actually causing some of that stress. To just basically give you some of the detachment, it may be some of the thinking time. So this may be something like going and having a bath. It may be just going out for a walk. It may be just sitting and just watching TV for 15, 20 minutes. Whatever that may be, just to create that space for you to basically distance yourself from whatever stress you're facing. The next one is then around deep breathing. Now, this is a very powerful technique, and basically what this involves is breathing deeply through the nose and then just continuing to fill your lungs up to capacity before then letting it out through the mouth. And this deep breathing, particularly through the nose, is really important because what this is doing is drawing a lot more oxygen into the body, specifically the brain, than it normally does through our normal breathing cycles. And this, once again, helps us to kind of de-stress. It helps us to relax that little bit more. The next one is things like, it's combining kind of the body and the mind. So this is when we're looking at things like yoga, we're looking at meditation. So this is where we're just taking time to do maybe a form of exercise, light exercise in the sense of kind of like yoga and Tai Chi and things like that. Or it may be like meditation where you're just taking the time to just sit and just be present in that specific moment. And with this one, it's kind of whatever works for you in that sense of like, if you're a fan of yoga, Tai Chi, then that kind of body-mind exercise is great. It may be that you do prefer to just sit and meditate. And for apps to do this, you can either just do it off your own back, naturally following something similar to that deep breathing technique, or it may be things like Headspace, the Waking Up app, Calm. You know, these are great apps to help to give us this space, to help us to de-stress. And the final one that is a real favourite of mine is the exercise. And once again, it's finding the exercises that work for you. For me, running and cycling, but for others, it may be things like body weight exercises. It could be walking, it could be skiing. You know, there's a whole range of exercises out there that may actually help you to kind of combat some of those stresses. And you know, naturally, some are a lot more easier to access in these stressful situations than others. Like probably running is a lot more accessible than skiing or snowboarding for many of us. But once again, it's kind of finding out the things that work for you. So that's it for this blog. It was just really to kind of talk about, you know, the things that people recognize and experience stress a lot differently. And, you know, as a leader, we do really need to be conscious of that. And then just recognizing the different steps to actually addressing the stress. So first is to recognize the onset, the kind of the symptoms of it, let's say, before recognizing the types of stress we're dealing with, to then kind of put the different exercises, the tools into play to help us to remediate that. After all, you know, we're all experiencing these really tough times, particularly around COVID, but then also there is a lot more going on in the world as well that we really do need to be mindful of, and that for each of us could be causing stress in different ways. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've enjoyed reading the blog. Please do let me know in the comments of kind of any tools or techniques that work for you. After all, the reason that I'm doing these videos, these blogs, is to kind of relay what works for me, what I hear works for others, to hopefully help others as well. So please do the same. And if you're watching this on the YouTube, please do subscribe. There's a lot more content like this that you can tune into. All the best. I hope you have a great day.